Move over, William Golding. We've got a brand new Lord of the Flies. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Welcome to Thumb Together. Today, we're going to be talking about Westworld Season 4, Episode 2, Well Enough Alone Together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well, or the flies will get me. That's just a fact. So this newest episode of everybody's favorite robot show is called Well Enough Alone, and that's one of the most straightforward episode titles I think the show has ever had in its 8 years of existence, because a lot of characters in it just keep getting themselves into trouble for not leaving well enough alone, namely the Department of Justice, the Vice President of the United States, and so on and so forth. Because yeah, we get a little old taste of Charloris's plan. She is replacing some high-profile members of the American government with host copies of themselves. Now, even though a lot of people probably could have said they would have seen that coming, it is a very predictable thing to do. It's just so scary and jarring to actually see it unfolding in front of our eyes. She's got a senator and his wife that she has killed and taken over. And hey, it's HRG from Heroes. And also his wife was sent into their family stables where she went crazy and started slaughtering and possibly eating all of their horses. I mean, she's still a human and she's been there for God knows how long. Now, we know that there was an 8-year gap between the end of season 3 and the beginning of this season. So in that 8 years, Charloris has had a lot of time to get her affairs in order. Now, I'm thinking what happened to that senator's wife. I'm assuming that took place a while back because Charloris was still getting the hang of her flies. Remember, like I said last week, I am like 99.9% sure those flies are a nanobot swarm that is controlling these humans. She wants to find a way to puppeteer the humans the same way the humans puppeteered the hosts. It's all coming full circle. Revenge is like poetry. So when William first goes to the senator's house and kills him, and then they throw the wife in the stables, I'm thinking that was maybe like 6 or 7 months ago, and they were still perfecting the whole fly thing. And now the fly thing is perfected, which we see up close and very personal in another way. The guy from the Department of Defense is living some of my wildest fantasies because guess what? Tessa Thompson just appeared in the backseat of his car and tied him up. But the fantasy stops there because the fly goes in his eyeball, and now, as we see later, he's looking fine and dandy. These nanobot flies are doing exactly what Charloris wants. They're puppeteering all these humans. And her new hosts are upgraded from the old hosts because Maeve can't just use her Jedi mind powers on them anymore. She can, but it's not as easy. Maeve has been effectively neutered by Charloris's new army, and that just raised the stakes a whole bunch. That made the episode for me, I think, just knowing how hard it was going to be to contend with all of these hosts now that she just has to rely on her good old-fashioned samurai swinging, ass-kicking ways. Does she still have her samurai sword? Get that lady a sword. Somebody get that woman a katana. She's gonna need it. And while robot versions of Clementine and William are hassling the Secret Service and the Vice President, the real version of William is actually still alive. But Charloris is keeping him alive. And he's like being frozen in carbonite on this giant 3D printer thing that kind of looks like Mickey Mouse's head when it opens up. And he's got this crazy suit that's just pumping him full of God knows what. I really was not expecting this. I did not think that the actual human William could survive anymore. The dude has been through so much physical mistreatment. But no, Charloris is keeping him alive so he can watch and he can lose. As she tells him, what's the point of winning unless somebody loses? So you are just here to be the loser. It's all spite now. It is pure, unadulterated spite for William having put Dolores through everything he has put her through. Ouch, baby. She makes such a nasty villain. What little we get of Christina this week involves no Teddy Flood whatsoever, which was kind of a bummer. But she starts to unravel more and more that there's some kind of eerie, parallax view-esque conspiracy going on in her world, which further seems to reinforce my theory from last week that everything happening to Christina is not happening in the real world. It's all happening in some kind of simulation, and I'm really starting to build on that more because this week I noticed something about her friend, her roommate, that I didn't notice last week, but I don't think anybody else interacts with this roommate except Christina. So even if the world Christina is inhabiting happens to be a real one, I'm willing to put some big money on the fact that that lady is not real at all. Whether she's some kind of therapeutic hologram kind of thing, the way that back last season Caleb was talking to his dead friend as a form of therapy. Maybe she's something like that. Maybe she is a host put there by Charloris to keep this strange Christina character in line. Maybe she's a creation of Christina's and Christina doesn't know it yet, but she has some weird ability to create things and have them come true. Something about that lady ain't kosher. And I think that the mystery of what's going on with her, with Christina rather, is tied into this roommate lady somehow. They're connected. They're not two separate entities. And finally, we end this week's episode very abruptly, in my opinion, on a sexy, classy train heading to, surprise, a brand new stateside park, which turns out is what William and Charloris were building. At least I think so. I think that's what they wanted to build on that dam, because they're buying a lot of land. Unless that dam wasn't a flashback and he's just buying more land for more parks, which sounds even more groovy to me because I'm okay with lots of parks. But Delos has been ignoring the White House's warnings to stop, please. He is building one right in the middle of the United States. And as we see when Maeve and Caleb get on this jaunty old train and Caleb gets offered sex by a hostess lady who gives him white and black hats, just like all the way back in season 1, which was a very, very nice little touch. This very Art Deco train rolls into a very Art Deco station and presents them with 1920s Chicago, or as William calls it, the Golden Age. So I'm assuming that's the new name of this park. It's called the Golden Age. Makes sense. Not all the parks, as we know, are called Blank World, because we had Park 6, which was called the Raj. Now, why were Caleb and Maeve invited, though? That's the biggest question I have this week. This whole thing with the senator's wife and the opera, it's fishy to me, and I don't really understand why Charloris would want them there. That's the big mystery. Why were Maeve and Caleb invited to the Golden Age Park? And that's it. We've already reached the end. I don't understand why, but these season 4 episodes so far have been real short. They are ending at like 9:50. So I hope this isn't a pattern that continues. I hope starting next week we get some big, juicy hour or hour plus long episodes, because we've been waiting for 2 years, man. Come on, don't give me these 50-minute things. That's like Disney Plus length. We need some more meat on these bones. Also, next week, if you want to finally throw Bernard back at us, I think we'd appreciate it a lot. Where the hell is that dude? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and make that the second and final question of this week. Where the hell's Bernard at? Like, we know he woke up in a dust future, so maybe he's still asleep, but damn. The dude's got to be somewhere. Anyway, that has been Westworld Season 4, Episode 2, Well Enough Alone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all here next time, hopefully to talk about a much longer episode of the show. Until then, my friends, these violent delights have violent ends.